climbing progression. When I hear this phrase, what always comes to mind is people like Colin Duffy, who was the youngest person to ever go to the Olympics for climbing, or people like Brooke Rabbitou, who was the youngest person to ever send a 14B. Now, with those people in mind, those are crazy examples of how insane people can be with their climbing progression and how quickly people can improve in the climbing space. Taking a step back from that, what I've always kind of wondered is how fast can you realistically progress as a mere mortal, somebody that doesn't dedicate their entire life to climbing, but does have a real passion for it. And that's kind of what I consider myself to be. I love climbing. I'm in the gym 5 to 6 times a week at this point, and I've been climbing since about January. From January to about June last year, I was only climbing about 2 to 3 times a week, and then I took about a month off. So I've been consistently climbing at least 4 to 6 times a week since about July last year. So at this point, it's been about 15 months since I've gotten into climbing. I progressed from V4 to V7. From V4, the first day that I walked in the climbing gym, and now, like I said, about 15 months later, we're really close to my first V8. So in this video, I'm just gonna go through a bunch of tips, the most influential things I learned from V4 to V7 through my progression through each grade, and what I think will help people the most trying to get through those humps if you're at a plateau from the V5 to V6 range or whatever it is. Just some things that really helped me in progressing towards my goals and where I've gotten today, and what I hope will help me progress into the future. So hopefully you guys enjoy the video. If you do enjoy it, please make sure to subscribe, leave a comment down below if there's anything you really liked about it or disliked about it. Love interacting with you guys, but yeah, let's jump into the video here. So the most important thing that I learned in my V4 to V5 range right when I was starting getting into climbing was really focusing on technique over power. So going into climbing, it was really easy for me to just think that I was strong enough to do moves. So like if you can see in the first ascent that I tried to do on this V4, I still finished it, but what I notice is if I'm not focusing on my technique, figuring out the right beta, cutting feet, not being efficient with my power and my strength, that really has a major impact going down the line of how many climbs you can do in a session, how much energy you have, and overall what progression you're going to make. And this is honestly one of the more obvious tips. I'm sure a lot of you do know that, but it's easy to get caught up, especially when you are starting to progress, to just lose focus on keeping your technique involved and just powering through moves instead of trying to do everything as efficiently as possible. So that had a huge impact on how quickly I was able to go from V4 to V5. It honestly didn't take a super long time, maybe about 2 months, because I have prior climbing experience, but just because you are strong enough to do them, like I said, I still finished the climb. But in that second attempt on that V4, I really focused on like not cutting feet, really focusing on what I'm doing with my body and how I can be more efficient in completing the climb. So that's what I thought was most influential in my V4 climbing progression. Now from the V5 to V6 range, what I found was most helpful for me was just realizing that there are always multiple ways to do a climb. Now there's always intended beta, but like with this first attempt, you can see I was just trying the same thing over and over again. Now I did try to like throw in a toe hook, mess around with my feet to get a different angle, but it wasn't until I stepped back, looked at it and realized, oh, maybe I can just cross over my hand. That's when I realized there was just a different way to do it. And that's something that helped me a ton going from V5 to V6, because there were a lot of times when I'd try a climb 3, 5, 7 times, you know, just like putting all my energy into it and just getting so frustrated because I'm just like, there's no way that I can possibly do this climb. But all it really took to get from V5 to V6 was stepping back, looking at climbs, not getting discouraged first of all, but also just realizing there's almost always another way to do something. If you're having trouble with a certain beta, look at it again from a different angle, and that can have a huge impact in just sending more climbs in fewer attempts and just being, once again, more efficient with your climbing, with your time, and with your energy. So that was huge for me in moving from V5 to V6. Moving on to V6 here, going from V6 to V7 probably took me around 5 to 6 months, which to me, it seemed like a long time, but you got to take into consideration, I was going maybe 2 to 3 times a week for those full 5 to 6 months. So it took me a lot longer because I wasn't super consistent. I took some big trips in 2023, so it really took me away from the climbing scene, but it was really fun going from V6 to V7. And one thing that I realized was so important was I wasn't working enough on my anti-style of climb. So with this first gray climb that I did, it wasn't completely my anti-style. There were some crimps that I did like, but most of it was slopey. And you can see like on that first move, there was like a drop knee. into a left hand, and I had to go immediately with the right hand to catch myself because there's no way to keep my feet on. So moves like that were difficult for me, those were super helpful in getting me from V6 to V7 because it's very important to work on stuff that you're not good at. Now I saw recently, I don't know if it was like tension climbing, but it was somebody on YouTube that was saying you should work 60% your anti-style and 40% your style. Now I definitely don't do that, but I got to agree, like that would completely skyrocket my progression. If I was working on my weaknesses over my strengths, I think that I would be progressing so much faster. I'd probably be at V8 by now. So that one is super helpful. With the second climb that I was working on, it was a slab, which I never do. I probably do about 5% of my climbing on slabs just because I really hate them. But moving forward, it will be super important for me to work on those just because I struggle so much. Just getting better at stuff that you're not good at and progressing towards just being a better climber overall. So that was super helpful in getting from V6 to V7, and going forward, I will implement a lot more of that to get to V8, V9, hopefully V10 plus in the future. Now moving from V7 to V8 has definitely taken me longer than any other grade that I've moved through. It's probably been about 6 months since I started doing V7, and I am getting really close. There's a couple V8s of momentum that I'm on like the last or the second to last move on. And what I think the biggest thing that has helped me and get from V7 to V8 as fast as possible, although I have stumbled a little bit, has been, and this is gonna sound kind of stupid because everybody says this, but it literally is just trying hard. Going into the gym every day and putting your full effort into climbs, regardless of how your skin feels, regardless of how strong you feel that day, going in and putting your full effort into every climb. As you can see with that blue one, I tried it so many times and I was so confident that I would be able to get it today. Just wasn't going for me, but I still wanted to show that one. And then moving to the orange one, this one didn't really give me that much trouble. It took me a couple attempts, but pretty clean on this one. And what I honestly see so much with people, especially with like people that are getting into climbing, is they kind of just give up. Like they get to a certain point in a climb and they either get scared or they're tired or their hands hurt and they're just like, well, I can't do it. And like, again, it's kind of corny to say, but just trying hard is how you progress. And this is what I've noticed so much. V7 to V8 has been such a struggle, but it's been so enjoyable to really push myself and see how far I can go. And it's like, well, yeah, like not everybody's trying to be Adam Ondra and be the best climber in the world. And for people like that, it's like, yeah, whatever. You don't really have to push yourself that much. But if you really are trying to improve, which I am, pushing yourself is going to be a massive help in getting through progression as quick as possible. So like I said, I haven't quite gotten a V8 at momentum. We're very close. So like looking at this pink one, I gave it a few tries today and I have tried it in some other sessions. We're getting there. It's super exciting. I have a couple that I'm working on and I really think they're going to start going in the next couple weeks here. So that's super exciting. One thing that I'm really going to dial in trying to get from V8 to V9 once I get to that point is going to be dialing in my nutrition, my sleep, and also my training outside of the climbing gym. Within the last few months, I've definitely seen a pretty massive downturn in just not being locked in with my food, eating unhealthy, eating inconsistently, and just not really getting the nutrition I need. But even more important than that, I think, is sleep. I do not sleep consistently. Some days I'll sleep 10 hours, some days I'll sleep 5. You know, it's just really all over the place. So dialing in my food, my sleep, and then moving into working out outside of the gym. So I mean, there's hangboarding obviously, but even just stuff like working on calisthenics, getting like my shoulder strength up, all the aspects of your strength that are a little bit harder to work while you're climbing. There are a lot of things you can work on outside of the climbing space that can really improve your climbing. So that's gonna be an experiment for me, is just seeing what helps the most going from V8 to V9 once I'm at that range. And I'm really excited to see how that can skyrocket my performance in the coming months here. With my V9 project that I picked here on the Grasshopper board, this one looks super cool. Surprisingly, there weren't very many choices for V9 at 30 degrees. I picked 30 degrees because it's pretty inclined and that's something that I do struggle with, but it's not anything crazy. It's not like a cave climb, but this one looks really cool. It's got a really interesting finish. It's just campus to that first move. And then with the next part of it, I'm not sure if it's like a really tension-based move where I get my feet up high to the next handholds, do like a hand foot match, or if it's one of the twist 180 campus moves. We'll kind of see. I didn't really give it a ton of tries. I was pretty tired today, but it's going to be really fun to figure out the beta in the coming months. I'm going to try this climb at the end of every month just to see how my progression is, and I'm going to hopefully send this by December. That's going to be super exciting. What's really crazy about this V9 is there's literally one foothold on the entire climb. So the handholds are honestly not that bad, but with just how sparse the feet are, and there's no feet on like the finish hold. So that's gonna be really interesting figuring out the beta in the next coming months, and I'm really excited to do that. So if you made it this far, I really appreciate you guys watching the videos. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. It really means a lot when people enjoy the videos and leave comments for me. It's super fun interacting with you guys. Most importantly, after this video, I hope you go do something dope. Climb a wall, climb a mountain, get outside, be in nature. nature, and leave it in the comments what you end up doing. That's honestly why I do this channel, inspiring people to get outdoors, improve themselves, and kind of just be active. It's awesome. So appreciate all you guys. See you in the next one.